If you're looking at the Braun All-in-One Trimmer series, you may be a bit confused as to what the difference is between these trimmers. I was too, so I bought all of them, tried them out, took them apart, and here's what I found. So there are four main trimmers in this series. There's the 3, 5, 7, and 9 series, and there's a pretty wide price range between these. On the low end, the 3 series, generally in the $25 range. The 9 series, this thing's usually about $115, and then everything kind of in between. First, I'm going to talk about the accessories because this is kind of how they differentiate a lot of these trimmers. You'll see within each, like Amazon listing, for example, they have different variants based on the number of accessories that they come with. So let me give you a quick overview of what those are so you can decide if they're going to be useful for you. So the accessories that just about every one of these models come with are the short guide comb. So this is the one that goes between 0.5 and 10 millimeters, clips on the back here. The longer guide comb, this goes between 10.5 and 20 millimeters. So this is just kind of the extender. The other two things that almost all of these have are the nose hair trimmer attachment and then the baby little foil shaver attachment. That comes with just about all the models. Some of the additional things you will find in the other models are this here body blade, which is nice because this thing is like, if you just want to use a different blade for body hair or pubic hair trimming, this is that. All right, next up, I'm going to touch on the blades between these because it is a little confusing as to what they say on the box in regards to the blades. So all of these trimmers have basically the same blade on them that they come with. The 3 and the 5 series have a plastic back, where the 7 and 9 series have a metal back on the blade. But I looked at these two under a microscope and they are the exact same blade. So don't think that the cutting difference between the normal blade on the 3 and 5 series is gonna be any different than the 7 and 9. Now, Braun makes this exceedingly difficult to understand because they also call out this idea of a lifetime sharp blade on the 7 and 9 series and then a ultra sharp blade on the 3 and 5 series. So they're almost trying to tell you there's a difference between a ultimate sharp and lifetime sharp, but they're both the same. Again, the only difference being the back portion of the blade, but I looked at these things under a microscope. I trimmed with both of them and they're not gonna cut any different. So don't think you're getting a better blade with the 7 and 9 series because it is the same. Now, there is one caveat to that I will point out is that I think for most of the 5 and 7 series, they do come with the Pro Contour blade. I snapped this guy on and it does cut a lot better than the standard blade. It's a smaller toothed blade and it cuts really short. It's a good blade. The downside is it's slightly wider and does not work with their guard system. So I would prefer if this Pro Contour was their normal blade. I think it cuts better, but since it doesn't fit with the guard system, the only thing this is going to be good for is the super short cutting. So cheek lines, necklines, things like that. But it's definitely good for that. I will note that every single one of these trimmers has a different charging cord. Why they do this, I have no idea. It's super confusing as I was trying to charge them. I think as a consumer, if you lose a cord for one of these trimmers, good luck finding the right one as a replacement. They all have some type of oval shape, but they are all different. The 5, 7, and 9 series, these do have a charging stand. The 3 series does not have a charging stand. You're just gonna plug that guy in. So all these trimmers are reasonably quiet, with the 3 series being a little bit louder than some of the others. I think it may spin at a slightly higher RPM, but I'm not totally sure. So you've noticed that these things look the same, but the only real difference I was able to tell with these trimmers was the batteries. So here's what that looks like. The 3 series has a 750 milliamp hour nickel metal hydride battery and a runtime of 50 minutes. The 5 and 7 series trimmers have a 740 milliamp hour lithium ion battery with a runtime of 100 minutes. The 9 series trimmer has a 1300 milliamp hour lithium ion battery and a runtime of 180 minutes. So the battery in the 3 series trimmer is simply not adequate. It's way too small to have any expectation of lifespan with this trimmer. If you do use it regularly, you'll probably find that within a short time period, it won't be able to hold a charge and then ultimately just won't work at all. I've had a number of trimmers with a battery just like this in here, and it basically always had the same result. I think you'll find that the reviews for the 3 Series also suggest the same thing. In this case, Braun has designed a trimmer that they can retail for generally in the $20 range, and that does not leave a lot of room to spend money on components. The 3 Series is also the only one in the lineup that is not waterproof, and just kind of noticed that the overall build quality of the circuit board on the inside did not match the other trimmers in this series. The battery on the 5 and 7 series trimmers step up and is adequate. I think that these trimmers will last for a couple of years. It's certainly a little bit undersized, but I think for most trimming, especially with this type of trimmer, it's probably going to be fine. And then the battery on the 9 series steps it up again to 1300 milliamp hours, and that's just going to buy you a little bit more lifespan for that product. Now, here's a good time to point out that the 5 and 7 series trimmers are exactly the same trimmer. So it has the same battery on the inside, the exact same motor, the same outer casing. It's literally exactly the same trimmer. So if you're looking between these two, just know that really the only difference is the color on the front. So the 5 series is going to have the dark front, 7 series has the silver front. 7 series definitely at a premium. So if you are kind of, in this realm considering between the two, I think probably the one consideration would be the Pro Contour blade. So this is the blade that is included in the 7 series, and it is a good short cutting blade that the 5 series just doesn't have. So if you're someone who's doing a lot of short trimming of your facial hair, wouldn't recommend this for body hair in particular, but short facial hair trims, neckline, cheek line, doing that a lot, you are probably going to like this blade a little bit better. It may justify the $20 or so price bump to get to the 7 series. The only other difference really is the 7 series is going to come with a nicer travel bag or box, case, whatever. Bag, case, travel, what? It's this thing. What do you call it? It's a case. So 7 series does have a little bit nicer case, but just know this is the same trimmer. There's no difference. It's 100% the same between these two. On other versions of the box, I have seen the 5 series battery life rated, I think, at 80 minutes, where they say there's 100 minutes for the 7 series. I don't know if that was a marketing trick or just a typo, but it is the same battery and the same motor, so there is no battery runtime difference between these two trimmers. All right, so how do these trimmers actually cut? So after doing some testing, I found that they all have adequate cutting power, with the exception of the 3 series, which definitely felt a little bit weak and struggled to cut some thicker hair. Every one of these trimmers has exactly the same guard system. So, don't think that there's any difference between the way these guards are going to work. The adjustable guard system is certainly a convenient way to solve the guard distance problem. I would say though that this type of guard is not for people who are super into precision. There's certainly quite a bit of flex when it comes to these guards. If you're pushing down, it's going to kind of change slightly how you're cutting. Overall, too, I find that trimming right around my jawline with this style of guard really is slightly difficult and takes a lot more passes than normal. And I think this just has to do with the bulky plasticiness around the edge of the guard. So you kind of have to come at the jawline from both sides, working in both directions. And overall, I found it just took more passes than it would with a different style of guard system. I will note that the 9 series does feature this little guard lock switchy thing here, which is completely useless because on all of the other trimmers, the guards don't actually slide down when you push on them. So I don't know why they felt like they needed to add that little lock on there. Maybe someone complained, maybe they fixed the problem later, but don't think that you're getting anything more with that little extra button up there because it's not super useful. Even though I felt like it took a lot more passes than normal to do a beard trim with these guys, these guards are pretty well suited for body hair. It's got a good range, going from maybe 1 to 4 millimeters with some small steps in between. The blade is well protected, so you're not gonna nick your skin as easily, or loose skin that's sticking out is not gonna get snagged in here quite as easily with this guard system on. All of the series in this trimmer are waterproof with exception of the 3 series. That said, I don't ever recommend trimming wet hair or rinsing your trimmer underwater. It just removes the lubrication from the blade. It's not necessary, please don't do it. but in case they do get wet, they do have some level of waterproofiness. All right, so here's some recommendations in terms of who these trimmers are for and maybe which one to consider. With this series, I think these trimmers are aimed at someone who doesn't have a ton of facial hair, so short beards or less, and then also has a focus maybe on body hair. What I would not recommend these trimmers for is someone who's trying to maintain a longer beard, do haircuts, or any type of fades. With this guard system, I did notice some annoyances when trying to fade between my facial hair and haircut. The guard system just doesn't lend itself to doing a very good fade in any way whatsoever. Anyone who is into precision may be a little bit annoyed by the flex that you're going to find in the adjustable guard system. All right, if you are looking at buying one of these, here's some high-level recommendations. Avoid the 3 series. This thing's battery is just totally inadequate, and you're going to be disappointed in the lifespan of this trimmer. The 5 series is definitely the best value in this lineup, especially given that it is the exact same trimmer as the 7 series. With whichever model you are looking for, I would recommend buying the one with the least number of accessories, which is generally the least expensive, because a lot of these additional accessories that they're throwing in are not going to be very useful. Another note is that I did really like the Pro Contour blade that's included in the 7 and 9 series. So again, if you're doing a lot of short trimming, this could be a reason to splurge and get the 7 series. Also, the 7 and 9 series do have the nicer cases if that matters to you. When it comes to the 9 series, I would not recommend that trimmer because at its price point, there's a lot better options on the market. Again, it's still basically the same construction and same blade as the $20 trimmer. So, you know, I think that if you want to charge $115 for a trimmer, there's a couple things that you probably do a little bit better. So my main complaint with that one would be the blade, number 1, the guard system that's lacking some precision, and then the battery and motor, which are a little bit underwhelming. Dog barking. Plus, again, at this price, I would like to step up to a better guard system rather than this slide up and down thing with a lot of flex to it. If you are looking for a trimmer in that price point at $115, check out the Brio Beardscape. This thing has a 2200 milliamp hour battery, an awesome ceramic blade, and then also some additional blade options like the Zero Blade, which kind of does the same thing as this Pro Contour, which is just cutting really short, doing a good job of that, like kind of a almost shaven look without irritating your skin nearly as much. So additionally, the motor on the Beardscape is significantly larger, and then you have some other nice controls as well, things like a travel lock. If you have any specific questions about any of the trimmers I covered today or anything else in general, please drop them in the comments and I will do my best to answer. If you like this video and want to see more like it, please subscribe. As always, thanks for watching.